Impact Wrestling. Yes. I just want to apologise first of all. I didn't cover Emergence, had a bit of a shite weekend, felt a bit down in the dumps, so I watched the pay-per-view, and the annoying thing about it is, over this last week, as I've sort of like chilled and calmed down a little bit, I wish I did cover it, because it was such a strong pay-per-view in that element. A few highlights for me was the Rascals taking them tag team championships. I don't care if they cheated to win. They've got them belts. I've been a fan for theirs for a long old while. Wesley, Marlon Reed, flipping Trey, Zachary. Awesome group. Motor City Machine Gun-esque in that sense. Brilliant stuff. PCO doing his stuff. And you can't beat PCO, man. You can't beat Carl. You can't beat this guy. This guy is legit an awesome dude. Okay? And what has to be said? Deonna versus Trinity. Wowzers. Such a strong match. Such a powerful match. And Trinity did her stuff and made Deonna tap. That's twice. No one makes this happen. No, this stuff doesn't happen with Deonna. And Deonna tapped twice. But that moves us straight into... Sorry, I spat them. Moves us straight into the first match. And I just want to talk about this episode first of all. This episode was a story building episode more than anything else for Victory Road. And I have no issue with that. Because as I continuously say, professional wrestling is not okay, a pay-per-view every single week. Like some wrestling fans at the minute want. Professional wrestling is about building a story, building a product, building to the pay-per-views. And this is what WCW used to do. This is what ECW used to do. This is what WWF used to do. It doesn't need to be a barn burner every single week. Some weeks it's just pure storytelling. And that this week was that. It was kind of sort of like what they did is how they put it together. It was majority of segments in the sense of promos of what's going to happen next, and with a couple of strong matches. Now, I'm going to be dead honest, right? I don't like battle royales. I don't like battle royales for titles and stuff like that. So it opened up with the knockouts having pretty much all the knockouts having a battle royale match, and it wasn't particularly an incredible match or anything like that, but I liked who won it, and I will tell you why. So who was in this match was Jodie Fresh, Alicia Edwards, Jessica, Vanna Black, Rush, Shaw Killer, Evans, Masha, King. Right, all flipping high quality wrestlers, all wrestlers, higher echelon wrestlers, all wrestlers that I have a passion for. But the person that won the match, okay, she won it in the sense of she didn't get eliminated. She rolled under the ring, rolled out the ring, took out the person at the end, won the match, was Alicia Edwards. I say this majority of weeks. Alicia Edwards, highly underrated wrestler. Wrestler needs more appreciation, needs more love, needs more passion, because she is highly talented. And I'm super buzzed for her to be facing Trinity. Now, the two people, when you kind of look at this list, you think she probably could have thought they weren't going to give it to Masha or Killer because they've got the tag team belts. You thought it would probably be maybe Jodie or King, but then you got to remember Trinity has faced both of them very recently in her recent career with Impact Wrestling. So that wasn't going to happen. That was never going to happen. Jodie Fret, I personally think is going to have some big things coming up in the future. She's such a talented wrestler, but Alicia Edwards deserved it. She has been kick-ass with promos, with her Boston accent in the last couple of months. In the sense of the Ride and Die show, she is the one that's the talent, I think, on the mic. She can rip Trinity a new arsehole out, and she's not a bad little wrestler. So it is important stuff to remember that this makes sense in a lot of ways. And I didn't love the match, but I loved the fucking results. And that is more important than anything else in my perspective. Edwards and Edwards are the power couple. They're the ride and died. And we saw it earlier on where Alyssa in a segment was actually proper buzzed about this and said, look, I'm doing this, man. Look, watch out. Watch out. Sort of like Kaz, Tracy Brooks. I am going there. bud. Okay? Alright? I've got this match now. I'm the Don, I'm the king, I'm the boss, and that is what we want from pro wrestling. Totally story matching. Battle Royale was okay. Didn't particularly enjoy it, didn't particularly not enjoy it, but it was okay, and the result was brilliant. Good storytelling, man. Good storytelling from my perspective. We see it later on. Josh feels kind of guilty for leaving the ring at Emergence with Shelley and Sabian and so. The Rascals interrupt. That builds for a match later on with Sabian and Zachary Wentz, which we'll talk about in a bit. We move on to the next match. And the next match wasn't really a match, but a continuation of an interesting story. Now, Crazy Steve, man. I talk about this the last couple of weeks with his interviews with Tom. Crazy Steve is one of them professional wrestlers where you kind of look at and you're like, darn, I love him. I love him. I love his gimmick. I love his creepy sort of horror gimmick. And he walks out to the stage in a mask and he's going to face... he looks like a fucking serial killer in all fairness, and I love this. And you're thinking, well, it's a bit serial killer-esque, mate. He takes off... He comes out in some new mask. He looks absolutely awesome. His whole entire gimmick's changed. He's kind of broken. His new sort of like subline that the commentators say is, if I can't be the answer or something along the lines, I'll be the plague. I'll be the plague. And I love that concept. And he's facing probably one of the greats in the modern wrestling, Speedball Mike Bailey. And basically puts thumbs in Speedball's eye, won't release it. Referee does the 5 count. It's finished. And you're like, bloody hell. And Black Taurus comes out. And then he does the same to Black Taurus. And it's like, man, Black Taurus, man, he's a beast. And just want to add, I've just earlier on this morning I watched the Myers unboxing of the boss fight figures, and that Black Taurus looks gorgeous, and it's probably high on my list, all right, of stuff to get to put on my beautiful Impact shelf up there. And yeah, it's a good story. It's a good story to be told. Black Taurus versus crazy, not just crazy, Steve. Do you know what I'm saying? This is some good stuff being built. This is some good stuff. Match 1, match 2, both storytelling matches. Both good stuff happening. Not necessarily matches, more sort of like tales that are going to end, tales that are coming to be told. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. We move into another segment with the professional wrestlers, where we see Myers, Moose and Edwards. They're going to team up for a match later on in the night. We see that Moose basically goes, bully, you've pissed everybody off in the industry, okay, alright, you've ditched us twice, jog on. And we hear PCO screaming as loud as possible, bully, bully, bully. And then again, something else that happens that's kind of interesting. Bully goes, I killed you, basically, right, because I want Cole back. I want the man and not the monster. So now I'm thinking in my noodle, I'm thinking in my head, this is something that's being built that's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. Storytelling, man. This is what fucking wrestling is about. Alright? This is what it is about. And this is why it's exciting. This is why it's fun. This is why it's enjoyable. And this is why we should have a passion for this product. The storytelling. Everything that happened in the first 20 to 25 minutes was storytelling. And I am for that. I buy into that. And this is why it's my favourite product. Now we move into something that's not storytelling, something that's got a story to it, but it's about the match. The design of Kong, man. Do you know what? The thing that I with Kong, I can never remember what tag team he was in. Was it The Awakening? I want him and his partner to actually come in and rants up the sort of like tag division at some point. But Kong versus Young. Now this was a great match because the commentators are asking, does Young still have his edge? Does Young still have that streak of violence that he can come in and compete and beat the shite out of people? They're questioning him because Kong takes this match and he's holding this match all the way through it. We see moves like Death Valley drivers happening from Young consistently to Kong, and Kong's a big lad. He's lifting him up easily. And yes, at the end of the match, we see Young win, but that's because Young's consistency of what he was doing. He went in there and went in there and went in there to fight, to end this guy. But building, man. building. I think there's such good things for Young coming back to Impact Wrestling currently. I think this is one of the most important signings they've made. The return of Eric Young. For me, if he isn't put in the Hall of Fame at some point in the near future, I'll be surprised, because these are the kind of matches that you need. You need a solid hand that can come in and have a decent match like this. And 7-8 minutes, whatever it was, the time period, it was a good quality match. And it has a story behind it. The design versus Young, fundamentally. All right. And I look forward to what's going to come more with this, because Dina himself is a great talent. Probably, as I said at the beginning of the year, probably one of my favourite talents in that element. But we move on from that. Because what happens at this point, the storytelling comes back in. And I'm sorry, this is how my notes are set out. So if I've got my notes wrong or whatever, I apologise. Lio Rush comes out and he goes and he calls out Sabian, and he's basically going, Sabian, son, why are you focused on Wentz? You're still shook with me, bruv. You're still shook with me. Okay, and I love Lio Rush because he has that Bully Ray talent of being an absolute prick and most unlikable person that is possible to be liked. Okay, and that's why it's good. And we see Kushida come out, and Kushida has all right to come out at this point, because Kushida is the guy that won a pay-per-view or so ago, won the X Division sort of like Ultimate X match, so he deserves his call out well before Sabian. And he comes out and he says Victory Road. And that is something that's going to happen. That is something exciting. And that is something that's going to be a buzz and a half. Grace, she's coming back. Yes. And she's going to be back at Victory Road. It looks like she is going to be facing Deonna. And look, do you know why I'm just excited about that? Because Deonna versus Grace is some of the best matches that happened in female wrestling for years. Absolutely great dance partners in the ring. And we see the ABC talking about how they want their belts back. All right. And kind of congratulating sort of like the Rascals in a lot of ways. The great thing about the tag division currently is, at last they're using the Good Hands in a correct manner. The Good Hands are becoming a legit decent tag team. And we see a few segments later, we see Santino talk to Subculture, talking to Swan and Sammy, and then talking to Eula and Joe Hendry. This is a building of a tag division here. We're seeing a lot of decent tag wrestling, and it is exciting, and it is a buzz. And I want to talk about this as well. Newcastle, Will fucking Ospreay. Will fucking Ospreay, that just literally had, I wouldn't say the biggest match of his life. A lot of people want to say it is. I don't think it was. I think the Kenny Omega sort of matches were his biggest matches, his biggest formats in that sense. But at Wembley versus Chris Jericho, and to be fair, I watched it at home. It was absolutely remarkable, and I'm not going to miss Will Ospreay again. He's come to Impact Newcastle. I'm going to be there. I'm going to make sure I'm there. I'll sell my soul to get there in that sense. I've got a ticket, and I'm really highly looking forward to this match. Ospreay at Impact Wrestling. Because I know we all know his contract's nearly up at New Japan, so I'm hoping that he stays on a sort of handshake deal with AEW, Impact, all sorts of people, so we can actually work in all promotions, because being tied down is not the way forward. We can see it with Matt Cardona in that sense. I'm going to move into a match now, and then I want to talk about this last segment and then the last match. Absolutely great stuff. So this match versus Zachary Wentz versus Sabian. So this match was always going to be quick. This match was always going to be very twisty and turny. And the thing about Wentz is really interesting. Wentz is very much like Alex Shelley. All right, and Sabian's tag team partner. We saw this absolute great match at Wrestling Revolver a little while ago versus Alex Shelley. And it was a very similar format of match, in all fairness. Very similar format of match, where there was loads of twists and turns. We saw Sabian working a specific body part, being, I believe it was the left arm. We see Wentz doing some crazy reverse armbar on Sabian. We see the STF hit, and that came from this beautiful, attractive moveset. And the thing about it is, the Rascals kind of got their own medicine in this sense, where because Alex Shelley was out there, he was watching Trey, he was keeping an eye on Trey, and that was the right thing to be doing. And when it comes down to it, the cable shot was hit, Sabian pins Wentz. This is leading into a tag team match at Victory Road, Motor City Machine Guns versus the Rascals, which is going to be interesting. It's going to be super fun. But do you know what? I kind of rushed this for one reason, because I was excited about the last few segments, and then the last match was good as well in that sense. Kenny King, the Digital Media Championship, and everybody knows that I love that belt. I think that belt's so beautiful. He uses great quotes. He's good at doing quotes. Sharp as gravy. Called Swinger a joke. Talks about kicking the chins off flipping Tommy Dreamer's face. And Tommy Dreamer comes out and he gives the context of Swinger's father-in-law dying and all this sort of things happening, and how he's been friends with Swinger for years and years and years, which he has done because of ECW and all sorts of malarkey like that. And Tommy Dreamer makes a great point that he is the guy that keeps coming back. He is the guy that even in the hardest moments of his life, and which has been this year, which he's had family members die, he's had Funk, his wrestling god, his wrestling father die, okay, that he understands what it's like for having hard times, and he understands what it's like for coming back, and he goes, look, Victory Road, I'm going to go out, I'm going to talk to the director of authority, I'm going to say to him, please give me this match, alright, if I win, I get the digital media title, if I lose, I leave professional wrestling. So we're talking about retiring Tommy Dreamer. If you know me, if you've ever heard anything I say, Tommy Dreamer is one of my childhood heroes. One of my childhood heroes. Watching ECW as a kid, then watching WWE, he was one of my childhood heroes. And do you know why he was one of my childhood heroes? He was the ultimate babyface. He kept coming back. He kept rebooting. Alright? And every week for Tommy Dreamer has always felt like a comeback. And do you know what? I'm going to tell you this now. I want Tommy Dreamer to take that digital media title. That is what I want for that digital media title. And I want him to retire. He's 52. He makes a great point in his promo that, look, Jericho's still doing it. Sting's still doing it. Swinger's still doing it. I can still do it. I'm rooting for Tommy Dreamer for that concept, 100%. Moves into Macklin. Macklin talks about Tag and Bagum, Mayhem calling out Josh Alexander, wants to beat the shit out of Josh Alexander, basically. Moves into an advertisement that was fantastic for the 1000th show. And we're on, God, I noted it down, we're on 998, alright, of Impact Wrestling. And I was realising this the other day, I pretty much watched all of them. I've been a standalone OG guy of this product for a long, long time, and it's, when it comes to pro wrestling, it's my passion, and at the minute, it's the only show that keeps me going in wrestling. How I have a passion for this product, and this 1000th show where the knockouts, old and new, are going to be joining together. We're going to be seeing people like Angelina Love back. We're going to see Velvet Sky come back as a valet. We're seeing Awesome Kong, which Mount Rushmore and women has got to be. You've got to be saying that, all right? If you're a general wrestling fan, not just a WWE fan or whatever, Awesome Kong, goddess. What Dutch Mattel did for her in the early days was amazing, and she developed her to become a queen of pro wrestling. Gail Kim. Again, another queen of wrestling is coming back to wrestle. So this 1000th episode, just with this Knockouts episode, if you are a wrestling fan, this is what you need to be flipping. Paying the $4.99 on YouTube, the $7.99 on Impact Plus, whatever you have to do, you've got to watch this match. Sorry, get a bit of dry throat. Lewis Hamilton, zero sugar, flipping drink. Probably my favourite monster currently. By the way, I'm not sponsored by Monster. I wish I was, because I'd be rich. Okay, moves into the final match. Moose Myers Edwards versus Kaz, Something, and Sinatra. Okay, so Sinatra's the New Japan Pro Wrestling champion. Absolute great talent. Beautiful talent. Wrestling is so spot on. This match was great. It was a great way to end the show. And do you know what I love about Moose, Myers and Edwards? And Moose and Myers in particular, they get it. They get it. They understand what it is to be bad guys. It's just the little things. It's just the little things. Like Myers, within the first few minutes, rolls out of the ring. And then he's getting built up by Moose and Edwards. And Jake something comes over and does this crazy suicide dive. And kind of changes the route of the match. And then a few minutes later, we see Myers, Moose and Edwards take control of this match for 90% of this game. They get the New Japan Pro Wrestling Champion, they get him in the corner, beat the living shite out of him for absolutely ages. And he doesn't really actually get much of a comeback in that element. We see Myers having some great movesets. And I say this all the time, again, massive Myers fan, alright? I want him to be the Impact World Champion. That's what I want for him personally, because I think he's well deserved it. And he's a great ring general. He can cool moves absolutely perfect. And the other wrestler in this match that was highly impressive, so I'm not going to lie, Kaz, Edwards were okay in the match. Sarge was okay in the match, but the people that were the highlight of this whole entire week are Moose, Myers and Something. Something hits this incredible pop-up powerbomb on Moose. Moose hits an incredible pop-up powerbomb. Okay. And then we get towards the end of the match. Myers gets hits with a void. Alright, and he's voided out and gets pinned. This match was high quality stuff. High quality stuff. Highly enjoyable. Alright. And super in general. And what we learned about this match is the top guys of this promotion are people like Moose, Myers and Something. These are the guys that I can see for the further the year be developed and moved into championship moments. And they deserved it. Myers has had a few recently. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's one of them things is, Impact Wrestling is something I can't miss. Because it's so good from the concept of storytelling, from the concept of giving you wrestling matches. What was this show about? This show not necessarily was about wrestling, okay, in the sense of the physical format of fists and suplexes and all that jazz. It was about telling the tales to build for the next pay-per-view. And this is what we'll see in the next couple of weeks. I've told you this before. Got a friend that's a wrestler. Great guy. And he always says to me that the problem with current elements of wrestling is they forgot the art of storytelling. And everything has to be a pay-per-view. Okay? The Irish whip, the Irish whip, that was it's like a standard wrestling move, alright? Okay, is now the super kick. The standard wrestling move. We don't need to do that. We need to sometimes just build with the basics to become great. And that's what is missing from wrestling currently. And this is what Impact offers professional wrestling. So this match was awesome, man. The show was good. It was a good show. And that's what the weekly show should always be named as. Look, I'm Scalzi. I'm out of here. I'll be back on... I'm only doing Wednesdays and Fridays now. The Wednesdays are going to be a pop culture episode. I'm going to talk about what I've watched in the week. What comic books I'm reading. So I am, just a heads up, I'm starting the new Marvel Blade series this week. So we'll be talking about Blade and we'll talk about the little purchases I make through the week. But listen to me, this is Scalzi out. Thank you for listening. I'll be back with Scalzi Talks at Impact next Friday. Love you lots. In a bit.